Hey Angela! Alright, so here is your karmic spread, and usually every karmic spread is very different and tailored uniquely to each person, and this one's tailored to you. As far as the spread goes, what I felt really drawn to do was to lay a past life spread with the intention set to get the relationship dynamic or energy that you wanted to, for your sister. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that are coming through, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what comes through here in your current life, okay? And I'll try to help however I can with that. Now, keep in mind there's a couple of ways to make connections, direct and opposite. Direct connections is when you can directly relate to or like connect or resonate with what comes through. The opposite connection type of thing is, let's say someone dies in a past life of drowning, they might come back and be deathly afraid of water. So it's just to be mindful of like the various ways you could be connecting to certain things. Remember that when you connect or resonate, that's for you to do, but don't force it. So whatever you may not connect with, you want to tuck in the back of your mind for later time. Now also, because there is going to be a relationship dynamic that we are looking for here, keep in mind it could be either or. So if I'm saying you and her, or whatever gender it is here, it could do the switcheroo thing. So just, connect with the one that fits, if that makes sense. But I also feel like we're doing a past life thing here because there just might need to be relevant information that needs to come through for you beyond or beside that dynamic. Okay? Alright, so let's see. So what we're going to do is look at where you were, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with relationships, feelings involved, another important day, relationships, feelings, the death and lesson learned, and usually we get hints of time throughout, but because of where we're going to, it might be a little wonky, and I'll explain that in a second. Now, the first thing I want to mention before we get into the cards is the song that was coming through while I was shuffling and laying these cards for you is the song called, I don't know if it's a title, but I think it's called It Was All Yellow, or it's called Yellow. It Was All Yellow. That song? I can't sing, but you know what I mean? And it was the chorus coming through. So you might want to look at the song, look at the lyrics, see how you feel about that, see if you connect in any way with that. And we're going to go ahead and start. So the card where we're going, this is the Atlantis and Lemuria card. And this comes up when it is Atlantis or Lemuria, but it also means like more aggressive energy and more passive energy, and or it can mean off planet. It can mean other realms of Earth. It can mean non-human. It can mean basically it's just not like the typical earthly existence. So when I laid this down, what this felt like was there's something involved in the lifetime that we're looking at where there is someone where I feel like we'll just go with you, like you are in tune or in touch with what would be considered like interdimensional beings or other entities, or like if you've ever heard of Ireland and just like how they truly believe like fairies exist, and fairies are a people and they are to be respected and they are real, and even if they're not real in the sense of being able to interact in the 3D world like in like any time kind of thing, there's still reality to it that goes beyond what we can see. This might be coming up in the case that you in your current life are having experiences, have had experiences, or will be, where you might catch a glimpse of something, where you might be having experiences that don't seem to fit normalcy in the sense of like maybe seeing shadows, maybe speaking with spirit, maybe, like kind of paranormal-y or supernatural, like what they would call to be that, but really it's just you seeing beyond the veil. Like you might be a very sensitive person, and if not now, if this comes, again, tuck in the back of your mind if you don't connect, but when it comes to these kinds of things, I feel like this would be just coming through as a message for you to it's not just don't ignore, but give value to the experiences. Like don't allow yourself to be like, oh, it's just my imagination, because I feel like if you are seeking answers in a way where you want to grow your consciousness, your intuitiveness, maybe you want to dabble in abilities or gifts, or maybe you already do, I feel like the best thing you can do is not write off those experiences where you would otherwise call it a coincidence or your imagination. Instead, just be like, okay, this happened. Even journal about it. And because like when you write about your experiences, even dreams, when you write about it, you're basically telling the universe, okay, I'm taking this a little more seriously, so bring it on. Okay, just in case you connect with that, and in case that is a direction that you want to go in. But that's what I feel is coming through with this. Now, the Atlantis and Lemuria card too, where I said it was aggressive and passive, that in itself, it feels like that should be some kind of focus point with this, where usually it's not. Like, I don't talk about, oh, aggressive, passive. I just use that as a way to say, oh, Atlantis feels like it's more of an aggressive energy, and Lemuria feels more passive, and that helps me place us where we are. But in this case, it feels like I want to focus on the fact that there is aggression and passivity, and I don't know if you can connect with the dynamics of that. And we're going to get more into this because we did set the intention for the person that you said. So if this connects with your dynamic, then we're on that track already, where we're looking at someone who might be more aggressive in their, either their energy, their verbalization, or and then the other person might be more passive or passive aggressive, or whatever it might be, you know, in how they approach the dynamic or the relationship, okay? So just keep that in mind. I'm still trying to see what we're doing here, because it feels like there's something about being somewhere, it's like it's Earth, but again, it's like when it comes to the focal point, which is you're the focal point here, it feels like there's something, this aspect of you goes between worlds, and it's almost like there's a... Hold on. Okay. So this feels like we're looking at a young girl who is very in tune with the spirit world. And at this time, or where she is, her speaking of it gets her, I want to say, evaluated and put into an asylum. And it's almost like the kind that they used to do in maybe early 20th century or late 19th century, where they would do shock therapy and horrendous things to people, and kids, especially, like where parents would send their kids off because they're like, they think they're loony or whatever, because they're seeing spirit and they're having communication with things that are invisible, things like that. This is actually what this feels like, this life. So what this feels like is, so this aspect is being confined, and honestly, we would consider it torture. You know, this is a kid who's just being honest about the experiences she's having, and she's sent away, and it feels like she is tortured for it, even though they don't call it torture, they call it like help and medicine, you know? And it feels like there is a sibling involved, where the sibling is not, the sibling is similar, like, so it feels like there's two sisters, again, and this is, genders are usually not, it's not that they're not usually the same, they're not always the same. Like, just because you have a sister in your current life, it's not always going to be a sister in another life, but it actually feels like two sisters here again. But it feels like one of you is being sent away for opening your mouth about a truth that about yourself, and the other one closes her mouth about the truth because the other one experiences the same thing. It almost feels like twins. It almost feels like, and one twin kept her mouth shut, the other one opened up, and one got consequences and the other one was safe at home. And I feel like if there is anything between you and your sister in your current life that you don't understand why there would be tension, this would be the tension. If there's tension, doesn't mean there's not love, but there's tension here, because it's almost like the image is of like you, like, or the one that's being drawn away is like kicking and screaming for the sister to tell the truth, to back her up, and the sister doesn't. But it's for her own preservation and survivorship. Because otherwise she's going with her. If she were to open her mouth, the other sister isn't going to be like, they're not going to just release her magically and be like, oh, you both see spirits? Okay, it's fine. It's not like that. It's like she would be brought with her. So it's that kind of thing. So we are looking also, if you or your sister if it's known to have, I want to say what they would consider a mental illness, like if one or both of you have been diagnosed with today, like what they would deem a mental illness, but it's the kind of thing where if you look into it, a shaman would say it's not a mental illness, it's a spiritual awakening, and they need to learn how to harness that ability. That kind of thing. So just in case you might connect with that. Okay, now what, we're going to get into this a little bit more, because this might, hold on. Okay, so with this, with what's going on here, with the visual coming through, with this happening, one being dragged away, one remaining silent, you want to connect with which one of you feels like the other may need, it's almost like the tension needs forgiveness. The tension needs forgiveness because no one is at fault and no one is to blame, period. It's like the one being dragged away, because the other one remained silent, it felt like a betrayal. But it's also, and the one that's dragged away is also younger, and the older one is, I want to say, more mature because she's older, and she knows, like there's one that's more level-headed, big picture kind of thing, like seeing, like, if I open my mouth, that's not good for both of us, sis, you know, like both of us will be taken, and she sees that, but the younger one just sees the betrayal. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that this is how I'm gonna go the rest of the way. The rest of the reading, you are going to be the one that had remained silent and saw the big picture, and we're going to put your sister in the role of the one who got dragged away, okay? That's what we're doing here. Now, if it's flipped, then flip it, you know? If you're the one that feels like you need an apology from your sister, and you feel like she's a betrayer, and you like have these like feelings where you don't know why, but you feel, you know, that kind of thing, then just flip it. But right now, what I want to do is move forward with you as the one that remained silent at home, safe, and didn't speak up when she essentially begged you to, but and that was the right thing to do. So it was the right thing not to speak up because you saw what was going on. Now so you in your current life might be someone that sees the bigger picture better. Like you might be the one that's able to step back and see more calmly, I guess, where we're talking about aggressive and passive, where you might take the more passive role, but it doesn't mean weak. It doesn't mean passive like you're weak or cowardly or anything like that. It means quiet, almost, I want to say the more stoic, and then the aggressive might, on the other end is the aggressive, and that would just be someone who might, I want to say, speaks without thinking, or is working on learning patience. We'll put it that way. You know what I mean? So again, assign, you know, which one is which. And also this could be someone else in your life where it'd be more relevant to read for them. If this energy that we're looking at here connects with someone else and someone else is coming to your mind that has this energy signature in your life, trust that, okay? And if not, then we'll just keep going with this. But these readings are always about what's most relevant. So anyway, okay. So the card of what you do with the majority of your time. So this is a Wanderer card. And I feel like so far as we move along, this is paralleling for these two girls. And the Wanderer's card indicates mobility or movement, not settling down, travel, that kind of thing. And I feel like since this happened, what's going on here is after this time, nothing settled down. Like nothing quieted down, nothing settled down. Excuse me. I want to say peace was not had. Peace was not made. And it's a big misunderstanding and a lot, it's very confusing. And it just feels like one sibling had more emotional intelligence than the other, which comes from age, yes, but also the nature of the person. And also when so you take someone who's mature and has gifts that can see spirit, we'll just say like say that, let's say you guys talk to fairies. You're a couple sisters and you guys talk to fairies. We'll just say that, right? Because you know fairies are not like cutesy little glittery winged things. Like they are, look into it, like real fairies kind of thing. They're entities. So let's say you both are born with the gift of speaking with entities, which by the way, FYI, random, but it feels like there is something in another aspect of you, that there is a complete other aspect of you that is part of fae or fairy in that way. So if you've ever been drawn to that or connected with that in any way, go look it up, because they're also considered ET, FYI. So all these ET, FYI, no, but they're also considered like extraterrestrial, all that kind of stuff. It's not the fairies that were taught, so to speak. But if you've ever connected with that, great. And if not, that's totally fine, but that's just a feeling coming through. But I feel like it's coming through because we're trying to figure out what's going on here. So it feels like, because the older one has a more, I want to say, grounded nature, and then the younger one has more of a, I want to say, airy fairy nature, no pun intended, but like up in their head. Like if we were to look at chakras, the older one is more root chakra based, grounded kind of thing, and the younger one is more third eye crown chakra based, which is up in the head and not as grounded. So the feeling of the younger sibling being taken away is chaotic as far as an energy goes, and the other one is more stable and level. So that's the difference here. And it's almost like, yeah, I just want to say that peace was never complete between them. I'm trying to see, okay, well, we'll see what goes on, because I'm seeing like if she ever came home or anything like that. So how you might connect with this also, by the way, if one, you came back in this life and all you wanted was stability, to be rooted down, to have a community, to have a home, to just plant your feet and have, just know where home is. The opposite connection would be if you want to travel and move and hit the road and not commit to the land or people or relation, you know what I mean? Not commit. That would be an opposite kind of connection for this card here, which is the Wanderer. This also indicates the idea of a wandering mind, of a, the idea, not wandering mind, it could be a wandering mind, like ADHD kind of thing. I feel like I'm getting a lot of, up here just right away because of what's going on. It feels like there's a lot, again, of what society would label mental diagnosis, or like, those kinds of things, ADHD or schizophrenia or bipolar, blah, 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 that kind of thing. I love to go look up what like shamans and, energy healers, what they have to say about those things, on a spiritual level, and you might like that as well, in the case that you connect where you might know that either you or your family members have any kind of mental thing going on, and look up the spiritual context of it, and it might give you some insight, FYI. So I know I'm saying FYI a lot, that's kind of weird. Anyway, so look up that if it connects, and if not, tuck in the back of your mind for a later time. But we're going to go ahead to the first important day, okay, and see where this is going. So the first important day here is the graduation card. Now, graduation card could be academia, but it can also be graduation of one's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual self, bodies kind of thing. And the relationship involved, come on, get up here, is the family card. And the feelings is grateful and gratitude. So, let's see what's going on. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're moving to the future, and this, we're moving to the future. No, this, it feels like you are reaching a certain, hold on, you're reaching a certain point, because this is not, okay, so this does not feel like an academic graduation, but it feels like a graduation in society. So not necessarily like enlightenment, but like society is looking at you. Okay, so this might be the kind of thing where, hold on. So what's coming through is the idea of like, you know how back in the day young women would be presented to society as like marriageable and time to, like look for a suitor? I feel like this is what we're looking at, and it feels like there was something about your sister going to the asylum that cast something upon your family where the community you lived in, the people there kind of, it's not that they shunned you guys, because the rest of you were very normal and very proper, but what it did was it made the rest of the family act super proper. Like, to make up for the sister, to make up for the, what's it called? It's scandal. It's scandal. So what happened, because it feels like your family is a bit well-to-do here, and it feels like it was a scandal put on your family name, and your family henceforth did everything possible, including you, to look like high society and very proper and very sane. And it's almost like, I want to say the other sister felt like they kept her somewhere else, which is horrible, yeah, but it was for the sake of survival in society at this time. And even though that is not an excuse that we would ever put up with today, it feels like wherever they were, wherever your family was here, and whoever they were, there was no way that it's not like this warm, affectionate family. It's not like they're like, this is our baby and we'll take care of her and she's one of us. It's not like that. It's like shame. That's what that is. So how you might connect this, by the way, is how you feel about fitting in your life. If you either used to or are getting over now or still have whatever it is, the idea of fitting in, being important to you. Hold on. Or important to your family, the family that you were born into. Were you born into another family where image was very important, and you had to play the role of the good daughter, the good sister, the good this, the good that kind of thing is what we're looking at here. And I feel like they were so hovering over, like it was just, that was number one priority. That's what this feels like, number one priority. And because all of you put in so much effort to act, behave, and I feel like you were acting. I feel like your whole family from this day forward, it was all an act. It was all about planning how to look your best, planning how to look sane, planning, like wherever you go, everything you were wearing, how you would speak. I feel like this life made it so you did not express yourself, and also the gift here that you guys had, like you cut it off as much as you could. And it feels like your expression was greatly stunted for the sake of lifting your family back up, at least the family name back up to where it was before this scandal. Okay? So we want to connect in your current life on how you feel about scandal, how you feel, well, like your family, like scandal as far as like looking bad. How do you connect about looking bad? I want to say, if anything, this would be a message for you that the best thing you can do, and this does not make you shallow if you care about what people think about you, but this would be a message of being aware of when you care what something sounds or looks like coming from you in a way where you find yourself limiting your voice, limiting your expression, which makes you feel limited in general from pursuing something that you might love or behaving in a way that feels more freeing or liberating. I feel like this lifetime of yours now would be to learn to express yourself, to learn to feel liberation, to free yourself from anything you find to be the feeling of being bound in the way of a relationship, or a role. So if you are finding yourself fitting a role that, let's say, you've always had your whole life, but now you might be feeling like, I don't know if this is sitting right with me anymore. I want to try this. I want to be this way. It could be, what's coming through is this thing is like, it could be as simple as wanting to dye your hair a completely different color, but not doing it because you're afraid of what, if you're in a relationship, like what your partner might say, or if you're going to see your family, what your family might say, or that kind of thing. If these are things that are bothering you, this is just a call for you to just be aware of when you're bothered by those things, because it could be so natural to you at this point where you might not even be aware of how often it's occurring. So this would just be a call for you to watch yourself, basically, like watch yourself during, you know, your thought processes, your whatever, whenever you feel like you are withholding expression or anything, limiting yourself in any way, holding yourself back because of how it might be perceived. Hopefully that makes sense. But I feel like that is what's coming through. So connect how you can. And if you can't connect, tuck in the back of your mind for a later time, because this is a call to take a step in a direction of saying that thing anyway, expressing yourself in a way anyway, even despite how you might think it will be perceived, because that's the only way that you're going to learn to move towards your most fulfilled, authentic self. Because even if it is perceived a certain way and you do feel judged, that's the way to learn to not care about being judged, is to be judged and then learn to put a wall up where you're like, well, they're projecting and, you know, I'm just going to be me. That kind of thing. So just play with that, connect with that how you can, but let's get into this a little more, what's going on here. So this is like your presentation to society, and at this time, the reason why the gratitude card is here, the family card, is we are looking at your presentation to society. You guys are back on top, we'll say, and this is going to be the icing on the cake. You are the icing on the cake for your family because you are most presentable, most polished, most, you know what's coming to mind? Have you seen Bridgerton? There's a Netflix show called Bridgerton, and it's the main character who's just very polished and presentable and proper and good and right and all that kind of thing, and articulate and beautiful and, you know, that kind of thing, sophisticated. And so you are the icing on the cake, and I feel like you get scooped up by a wonderful family, like your family and another family come together because of your marriage, and for that your family is ever so grateful. So if you are back in your current life with any other family members here, whether it's, I want to say it was just a mother-father kind of thing here. It doesn't mean they're your mother-father now, but it could be also. This would be an energy signature where either one, they would be, you were born into a family, like where these people would be the ones that would make you want to hold yourself a certain way, speak a certain way, avoid any potential of being embarrassing. Those would be the people. They're not bad people. It doesn't feel like they're bad people. It just feels like they're misguided, you know, and that would only be if the parents in this life here came back into your current life and are still learning the lesson to become less misguided in that way. We're looking at priorities. What do they prioritize? What do you prioritize? Is it, you know, because in this timeline, we are here to express ourselves authentically, show ourselves self-love, and grow, and feel that kind of freedom within ourselves. We are not here to please other people. That is not what this timeline is for anymore, because we're looking to expand our consciousness and evolve in our soul. And that is not done by pleasing other people and remaining in a role and not changing ourselves when we feel the urge to shift and change and grow. And other people limit us by wanting to contain us in a small little nice little box, and oftentimes we're programmed to just stay there because that's how we're brought up. So however you might connect with this, so you might be seeing these people in your life where your contract would be in this time around to express yourself despite how it might be perceived by them. Again, they don't have to be your parents. They could be family members, or they can be people you find that are just like part of your life, where you know that by you expressing yourself a certain way, it just might be perceived or judged by them in a certain way that you don't want to express yourself with. And if that's the case, that would say, hey, time for some boundaries, you know? So just keep that in mind. This would also speak in your current life if you are the good daughter, the prized daughter, the golden child, do you know what I mean? Where you've kind of built that role for you, like that's your identity in the family kind of thing. And there's no judgment in that, but make sure, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just make sure that you are able to express yourself and be yourself to the utmost possible, and that you are not finding yourself limited or held back. I know I keep kind of repeating myself in different ways here, but it just keeps coming through. And when it keeps coming through like that, there is a reason. So if not now, then just perhaps later, but you know, tuck in the back of your mind for a later time, or maybe you can connect now. But the graduation card is you moving up in society, and the family essentially getting, they're back on top. Back on top. And that's very important to them because their image is very important to them. So this would just speak to your current life, that there may be other priorities this time around that you want to focus on. Or maybe it's time to reprioritize, refocus on some things at this point. That's hence the reading. Usually these readings come through at the right time, we'll say, for a reason. So keep making connections here. And we are going to go to the next important day. So this is the move, 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 let's go card. And usually these are people leaving or fleeing. So like moving or fleeing. The relationship is karmic, which means usually we see this person in your current life. But a karmic relationship can also be karmic with the land or with yourself, where you promise yourself to complete something, right? And then this is the happy feeling card. The happy feeling card. So let's see what's going on. Move. Okay, so what this feels like we're seeing is something about like your husband moving the family for work purposes, and it feels like they're very well off, but it feels like there's something like the family business is expanding, and I'm going to take up the lead in the chapter we're opening over here. And it feels like you're moving far enough away where it's like a fresh start feeling, where you won't, it feels like there's something you realize that as you leave town, there's something like a burden lifting off of your shoulders. And I have goosebumps. It's like for the first time you're able to leave your story behind. And that story includes the sister and the parents and the whole life of having to be proper and perfect. And there's something about your partner that really allows you, oof, I'm getting emotional. There's something about your partner, being with your partner, just, you know, like as a married couple together, you guys are, there's something here where you guys are very respectable to each other. Like, he respects you. You are not just a prize. And I feel like that's rare in this time where you guys are actually friends. And I feel like that's rare in whatever timeline we're looking at. And again, I'm feeling like what we were talking about like maybe like very cusp of like 1900s kind of thing. How you might be able to tell is by looking up when look up when people were sent to asylums, even like women maybe kept at asylums, and potentially shock therapy or something that we would consider torture. That might help you kind of place the era we're looking at. But yeah, so you might want to Google that. But here we're looking at a relationship where the longer you're together, the more you're able to just drop your guard. And I feel like you actually, that your husband is the first person you tell about what really happened about your sister. And it's not like he asks. It's like you feel so comfortable with this person that you volunteer the information. I feel like there's, you both, this is just a really lovely relationship. And I also feel like he says, if you don't want kids, I understand. For some reason that comes through. And I don't know if you have kids in this lifetime. I think eventually you do, but right here, as you guys are leaving to start fresh somewhere essentially, and you feel all the burdens just like dropping off your shoulders, because it's like you never left the place. You were so busy trying to create with your family a great image. It's like you guys never took a vacation. Basically, you never took a break and you were always working. That's what this feels like. You never took a break. So in your current life, by the way, if you are a workaholic, if you work on something like where you get in a mode where you just can't stop till it's done, that could be a connection as well. Now down here with the relationship though, if you are in a relationship and it's not going great, it's likely because that person does not make it easy for you to put your guard down. As in, it might be more romantic relationship. Not saying there's romance like going on, but like it'd be more like this is a relationship, not a friendship. It would be lacking a friendship like nugget kind of thing that would let your guards drop. If you're in a relationship and it's going well, I would say it's likely because that person has allowed you to let your guard down or to be vulnerable and feels like a friend. If you're not in a relationship, the one you're looking for, the one you're waiting for, could very likely also be this person. And if you are in one, then you're very happy. It could be this person too, where it's the same energy signature where it will feel very comfortable and natural once you begin talking, where you feel like you can let your guards down and speak your truth about something that maybe you don't tell a lot of people about. That kind of thing. Or maybe you're not used to expressing to people. This would be someone where it would feel easy to do so. Okay? Let's see. Oh, and also how you might connect to the idea of having kids in this life. If you have kids, okay, but if you don't have kids and you're like, I don't know, that can connect to this as well, just based off of what you harbored about your sister that stuck with you. Yes. So if you are someone who carries guilt, that could also be a connection too, based on what happened up here. Now, also, one last thing about these people, the parents keeping up the image. If you have a person or a couple people in your life, and yeah, it could be parents, fine, they can come back as parents, but they would be, these people also would be like a duo or something like that. Heck, it could be cousins, it could be, you're just looking for the energy signature that you would feel resentment towards. Okay? And it would be resentment, either one, that's unfounded, or two, based on you having to feel like you have to behave a certain way when you're around them. And so that might breed resentment. This can also be a romantic partner as well, you know? Like, again, the roles all change around a lot. But if anyone comes to mind when I say if there's someone you're resentful towards, that could be them as well. Or the sister. But I don't feel like that's there. There's more about tension here and guilt. One talks a lot, one doesn't talk a lot. But again, you know, the switcheroo thing. So however it fits for you, connect however you can. I want to go ahead and move to the death card. So here, this is actually the murder card. The murder card is not always like stabby in the backy kind of murder. This is also a card of intention. So how I describe that is usually like when someone drinks themselves to death, they don't mean to kill themselves, they just overdrink so they intentionally overdrink, but not to kill themselves, like that kind of thing. This can also be suicide. So I'm just gonna see what's coming through here. I feel like there's just something that I feel like this is a time where there is something that we have learned about. Like today, if you look it up, it would say something like, people in the 1890s didn't realize, but they were really eating poison when they had this, because, do you know what I mean? Like there's something I feel like you ate a lot of and it was chemical, or there was something in it that was like poisonous to the human body, but because it was so far back in the day, they didn't know it's kind of like how like smoking was cool, like, because smoking's it's really cool, like back in the day before they knew how harmful it was. This feels like it's something like, I want to say something like you were eating something all the time that was let's say lead, you know what I mean, like LEAD, like lead, or again, something that would be poisonous to the human body, or toxic. There we go. It would be a toxic something to the human body. So I don't know if you've actually ever come across something that made you think about it. Like, you know how you just read random facts, like people used to eat this, but they were really eating, like, there's also like 40% bugs in cereal, like that kind of thing. That's what I feel like this is. So it's unintentional, or it's intentional in the way that you're eating what you like to eat or what you think is good for you, but it's actually toxic to your body. So I feel like that eventually what it does is takes years off your life, because I feel like it hurts something in the body. So what this would do, if anything, like connection-wise in your current life, would be if you are allergic or sensitive to something that you digest. It could be the whole like gluten thing, the dairy thing, the soy thing, whatever it is. Yeah, so if not, great. But that would just, I feel like that would be the connection if you're allergic or sensitive to something that you eat or drink. But keep making connections with that where you can. And we're going to go to the lesson card here. So this is the experience card. And I feel like the experience, this was definitely like learned here. It was learned. And I feel like it's echoing into your current life if you were to connect with the idea of, again, expressing yourself and stepping into a version of you or a role of you that is most fulfilling to you, and not caring or not being a version that does not take into context what other people think or how other people perceive you. A version where it's almost like if the world was blind and deaf and you can live alone, who would you be? Like that kind of thing. But I feel like this mostly pertains to the experience having to do with the after effects of shame and guilt. Like your whole family is working through shame and guilt, and it's about what is priority. And here it was choosing image over family in a sense. It's almost like I want to say the experience of choosing family for the sake or name of family, but not for the actual individuals in the family. That's what I feel like this is about. It's about living a life where it's about the family name and the family image, but not about actually caring about the individual people's needs on a healthy level. So discarding the youngest because she's crazy, rather than embracing her and taking care of her and not caring about being judged by society. But then again, we're also looking, like, this isn't an excuse, but we're looking at being a product of the times too. You know what I mean? So that comes up too, like, you know, based on the times and the class of society they were in, it was almost like, I feel like nobody would have, I feel like no one would have done anything different. Like any other family where they were from, or whatever, wouldn't have done anything different because of a product of their times. Like society was more important than individual familial care, if that makes sense. So it was more like making the family name look really polished. I know we just talked about this. Wait, hold on. So the experience of the right. So in this being the experience of the family name and the family look and the family image, I feel like when we phase out and we come to this place where you feel more free because you gotten away from the family, started your own kind of family here, but like this is where it was your first taste of expressing yourself and telling your truth to someone that you felt like not judged by and who cared about you for real. And I feel like that's where we're actually coming into your current life from, is we're taking the lead here. And your life now, it feels like the experience is to cater to loving individual people in your life because of how they make you feel and because you love them. Not about what it looks like, not about choosing friends because they're, you know, what they look, you know, what it looks like or how it seems, you know what I mean? Like their status or whatever it is. This life in your current life feels more like grounded and authentic and genuine about the individual peoples and not about image or how it looks. And that could have been where you might have been born to a family where it was like that and you find yourself leaving that, or you could have been born to a family where it was like that from the get-go, where it's just love, like just a loving family for the individuals and not about image. So you want to connect how you can with that, but it feels like at the end of this life we're leading into you finding soul mates, soul people, soul contract people, you know. So this is a soulmate. And soulmates, by the way, it's not just like one for a lifetime and always a romantic thing. Soulmates can be friends, it can be many, it could be, you know what I mean, for a season, for a life, all kinds of things. But it feels like at the end you're finding, or when you're finally, like you get away from the image, you find someone and it's just a taste, like you get this taste of like freedom or authenticity or expression, you know, truth. and then come into your current life. And I feel like now it's about expressing yourself, being truthful, loving individuals who love you back, who make you feel good about yourself, and stepping away from anything or anyone that makes you feel like you have to put on a mask to please them, or behave a certain way, or fill a certain role to make them feel comfortable, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. But yes, so yeah, there's your karmic / past life reading. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make some connections. I hope that was helpful in the way you wanted it to be, and that you can connect with the intention we set there. And thanks for letting me read you.